Hey, it's Amy Newmark. I'm off this week because I'm finishing up our books that are coming out for the Christmas season. So we're going to rerun the third week of the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast from back when we started. And we didn't have as many listeners then, so chances are you haven't heard these episodes yet. So I think you're going to enjoy them.
Changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration. It's Wow Wednesday, and that means I get to share one of my favorite mind-boggling stories with you. These stories just stick with me. I tell them over and over, and I do it because everyone else finds them fascinating too. That's what I love about these Chicken Soup for the Soul stories. They're real, and they definitely prove that truth is stranger than fiction. The story I'm going to tell you today, Jesse in the Sky, is from our book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Hope and Miracles. This book is filled with awesome stories, but this is one of the most awesome, and I think it will give you chills. It's the story of Scarlett Lewis, who lost her 6-year-old son in that horrific Sandy Hook elementary school shooting in Connecticut a couple of years ago. Jesse was one of the heroes that day. While he stood facing the killer, he yelled to his classmates to run. The kids ran and got away, but Jesse's own path was blocked by that pathetic excuse for a human being, that gunman who went ahead and shot Jesse in the head. Scarlett says that she and Jesse's older brother and other family members received dozens of little signs from Jesse after he died. There were flickering lights. There were notes that Jesse had written that just appeared out of the blue, with the J in Jesse written backwards the way that Jesse always wrote it. These were little signs that might be viewed as coincidences, but Scarlett felt that they were little hellos from Jesse. And 2 weeks after the shooting, Scarlett decided to take JT to Orlando just to get away, to experience some warmth, maybe help with the healing process. She had more signs from Jesse on the flight down to Orlando. Jesse's favorite songs kept popping up on the in-flight music selection, and then one of Scarlett's own favorites, Rick Springfield's Jesse's Girl, started playing on the music system. When Scarlett arrived at the Orlando airport, she checked her phone, and she found a text message from a psychic who had befriended her up in Connecticut. And this message from the psychic got Scarlett really upset, because the psychic basically said that Scarlett might be holding Jesse back from heaven because she was always looking for signs from him, and maybe that was keeping him from moving on. Scarlett felt terrible. She had that typical mother's guilt. Her son was dead, and she was still feeling responsible for his welfare, and now she was grief-stricken that she might have done something selfish to keep him with her. Was she keeping him from moving on to heaven? Scarlett told JT to wait for her at the car rental desk. She was still holding it together, and then she ran into the ladies' room and burst into tears. And she spoke to Jesse in the ladies' room while she was sobbing, and she asked him to send a sign that he was okay and that she hadn't kept him from going to heaven. She asked him to let her know that he was with Jesus. And then she dried her tears, and she went off to get the rental car with her son. And they got in the car, and they were driving down the highway for just a few minutes when they saw it. There was a skywriting plane in the sky, and it had just spelled out something in smoke in the blue sky ahead of them. And what it had written was, Jesse and Jesus, together forever. And the J in Jesse was backwards, just the way Jesse always wrote it himself. You can see why I like my job. I get to read wow stories like that all the time and share them with you. The next time we get together, I'm going to wow you in a different way with a story about a dream that completely changed a couple's marriage for the better. I'm Amy Newmark. Thank you for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast today. I would love it if you would help me spread the word about the podcast by telling your friends. You can also rate and review it on our iTunes page. And I want to mention that Scarlett Lewis, along with my friend Natasha Stoynoff, wrote a book about Jessie and her whole experience after the Sandy Hook shooting. It's called Nurturing Healing Love. And if you'd like to read more awesome, thought-provoking stories from the book I mentioned today, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Hope and Miracles, then go to our website, chickensoup.com.